Started my first startup in '97. The world told me I was insane.
Our goal is creating future economies that are more regenerative and sustainable.
Something didn't match up. Why hasn't this become the next big thing? And that's where we invested.
The whole purpose of achieving anything in life is measurement.
Thank you all for joining this session here. This is going to be a presentation on building concepts automation. And we are joined by Maksim Markevich. He's founder and CEO of Kreo. And what I want to do is just start by giving you a brief background of Maksim, and then I'll turn it over. So he graduated with a degree with an ME in nuclear power plants construction and was working as a structural engineer. His journey has gone from a structural engineer to a CAD manager, then to a BIM manager and a BIM consultant, a project manager, and finally co-founder and CTO. He loves building design automation and is focused on providing the best software products to the AEC industry. And just briefly about this session, construction is undeniably one of the most important industries in the world, and keeping up with emerging technologies is essential in order to remain competitive. How is it that the automotive industry has recognized the benefits of prefabricated parts, but construction is still behind with this concept? Kreo believes that in treating every building as a product rather than a project. We describe a building concept as a kit of parts, topology, and design engineering guidelines. And through computational modeling and generative design, we automate and optimize building concepts. So with that, I'll turn it over to Maksim for his presentation on building concepts automation. Maksim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you. Thanks for having us here. So it's a pleasure to talk. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start.
I will just say one thing before you begin. Again, as a reminder to the attendees, we have a Q&A in the right-hand side. So please feel free to add your questions in the Q&A and Maksim will be able to answer those.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to start. So the topic, as Ian already mentioned, is building concepts automation, existing and new software products. And here, Ian already talked a little bit about myself, so I'm going to skip this slide and I will start immediately from the main topic. Okay, so as we all know, the architecture design process is a problem-solving process, right? And here, I just want to talk a little bit about problems which architects usually solve during the early stages of the projects, okay? So, and just a few examples. As you see here from the right side of my screen, you can see a kind of site, and just the requirements like, okay, give me a minimum of 322 square meters for retail space and 165 square meters for back of house, this amount of units, this amount of commercial stuff, required unit mix, and other requirements. The same example here. Okay, so this is our site. So 10% of the site should be affordable. It should be maximum 9 stories. Please build strategy around social value, sustainability, etc., etc. Or the third example, the same again, just a new site. So please give us 325 residential units with this amount of net internal area. Near to G efficiency should be more than 78%, no more than 5 units per core, etc., etc. So this is how typical requirements, brief requirements for architects at the beginning of any project look like, okay? And so here, we're going to talk a little bit about what software do they use right now to solve these problems. And we actually broken down this software into 3 different categories. I'll explain a little bit what are they and what is the difference in between those categories. So first category is the most obvious one. So it's a building design and BIM modeling software, right? So it's such a software like a Revit, Rhino, ArchiCAD, SketchUp, etc., etc. Everybody knows this kind of software. And technology they usually use is like a manual modeling, parametric design, or just a simple CAD drawings. This is about the first category of the software. Another category of the software, it's a building design automation software, right? It's not like really new, but it's relatively new software category, which is usually contains kind of combination. For example, we know such a software like Dynamo, which is working on top of a Revit, or such a software like Grasshopper, which is working on top of the Rhino. And basically, technologies or different flows this kind of software uses computational modeling, generative design, and any other kind of algorithms and stuff like that. So, and the third category of the software, which is actually occurred relatively, not too much, let's say, time ago. It's about building design configuration software. And obviously, a lot of companies try to automate some routine tasks in their processes. They create a lot of plugins, and as we know, there are quite a lot of software occurred in the past, let's say 5 years. Such a software as a SpaceMaker, TestFit, Archistar, Delphi, CREO Module. I'm from CREO Module, so and actually. Probably everybody knows this kind of software, and it's a little bit about like kind of configurators where you choose a site, you do some kind of tests, you create some volumes, you see some metrics, and you kind of make decisions about your future property. It helps you to generate some initial models to understand how many units can be fit in a particular site, and to understand some financial metrics or some market insights or land insights, etc., right? And here, and obviously, so I think it's pretty clear. So we have building design and BIM modeling software, we have a building design automation software, and we have a building design configuration software. So to make sure that we all understand the difference in between the second and the third category, I'm just gonna show you a slide like this one. So building design automation software is it seems like kind of visual programming language, or just a programming language, or some kind of low-code, no-code solution. I think everybody saw kind of how this look like in a Dynamo or Grasshopper. From the left side of my screen, you can see a lot of nodes, connections, some Python code, etc. Right? So it's pretty low-level software, and some folks they just think that architects inevitably will kind of come to this software and they will do stuff by themselves, etc., etc. And we see a lot of people who started to work in such a kind of environments. And so building design configuration software, it's not such a low level software. It usually has kind of interface, specific user flow, and it looks like a web-based or desktop software where you don't have such a flexibility like you have in a Grasshopper or Dynamo, but you still can do quite a lot of different things. So this is the main difference. And obviously, among building design configuration software, there are also quite a few different softwares, and they're really different by context they cover, by a level of detail they provide, by a level of let's say building informational level, etc., but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Let's go further. So CREO Module, we will talk a little bit about it. So CREO Module, we will talk a little bit about vision. As you see and as you know already, it's a building design configuration software, right? So, and here quite a few words about our vision. So we believe that any building and every building should be treated as a product rather than a project, right? So it's very similar to the car, and it also contains fixed, scalable, customized parts, especially if you're talking about different prefab solutions. And obviously, facade can be customized. Let's say MEP systems can be scalable or fixed, frame can be fixed, etc., etc. But it's not like the same current building, and the main difference is that building is more contextual than a car, right? So there are quite a few different contexts, which is a market context, right? So for example, for this particular region, you will need to provide some specific social units, or that the generation of people which live in this area it's pretty old, let's say 50, 60 years, it will affect the quality and it will affect the size and configuration of units you will provide for the specific region, right? So this is what's called market context. The second context is a site context, right? It's about different setbacks. It's about listed buildings around your site. It's about flooding zones, maybe some tubes, maybe some specific conditions, etc., right? So the third context is a planning context. It's about transport. It's about pedestrian ways, it's about sunlight, daylight calculations, etc. And the first one is a building context. It's about how you stack these units, what's building topology, what kit of parts do you use, what kind of finishes, what facade materials do you use, etc. Obviously, there are a lot of other contexts which is more connected to later stages of the project. For example, logistic context for the construction site, etc. But it's already it will be important a little bit later, right? And here I just wanted to make a point that, like, we at CREO Module, we always focused on the building context, right? So there are a lot of products like Archistar, for example. I know that they analyze a lot of properties, they analyze a lot of market context. I know also that TestFit, for example, works really well with a site context, and it's still a configurator, but it just it works with a site context, and yeah, that's kind of different features for different products. So we focused on a building context, and here a little bit about how we define this building concept and the building topology. Like how we define actually the building DNA before we do automation of it. Okay, so we just basically divide building DNA into three main sections or three main components. So the first component is topology, right? So it's about spaces and adjacencies. For example, when you have a residential building, it's about units, corridors, lift halls, and how all these spaces connected, right? When we talk about parking, it's about stalls, it's about ramp space, drive aisle, etc. So it's a different topology, and obviously inside residential buildings can be, hundreds, thousands, millions different topologies. The second part is design guidelines. So it's about how these spaces and adjacencies create kind of the main function of the building, right? So it's about different nuances, it's about requirements to spans, requirements to fire safety rules, requirements to daylight, sunlight calculations, etc., right? And the third component is a kit of parts. It's about walls, doors, windows. It can be different construction methods for the particular building. It can be volumetric modules or panelized system, or it can be just the components like usual columns, beams, or wooden frame, etc. Right? So basically, for ourselves, we define that building concept is defined by these three main things. And I just want to show you quite a few schemes and pictures just to explain a little bit better how it looks like in the real cases. And here the first one of concepts we automated, is a mass timber office building. And from the left side of my screen, you can see, for example, different kit of parts like columns, beams, walls, floors, right? Then some engineering guidelines about efficient spans, like how we need to choose a span for secondary beams, main beams, some requirements to function in zones, some requirements about core configurations. And then so we build a flow which actually take into account all these requirements, all these three components from the previous slide. And then such a building, like you see from the right side of my screen, can be generated in a few minutes with all materials, with all elements, with bill of quantities, just like really quickly. Okay, so this is the first example. Another example is our volumetric modular residential buildings configurator. The same story. It's just, kit of parts, modules, adjacencies and topologies about how these modules connected together into units. And it's not only about horizontal direction, it's also about vertical direction. As you see here, module can contain like not only architectural part, but also MEP part, structural part, which basically means so you cannot kind of put any module on top of any module, right? So you need to respect some rules. And the same story. So we choose this concept, we do automation, and then our users can generate 3D models with dashboards, analytics information, etc., etc. So, and again, just a few more pictures just to explain what does building concept mean. For example, all these buildings, they are entities of one building concept, right? But I mean, it looks like that, right? So they all have different, they all have the same facades, quite similar configurations, but it's not only about facades. One building concept can have completely different facades, completely different colors, completely different textures, different materials, if it was taken into account when it was created, right? So again, these building models are also models from one building concept. And one more point, and it's even not only about architectural part of the building, because building concept also can contain like a structural or MEP part, okay? And also the last point, which is also very crucial, is about different inputs, right? So when user generate a building, we for example can work in a way in which architect can create a masses, right? Like a massing for the building, and then we fulfill this massing with the buildable parts. With the buildable parts taken into account building concept definitions, topology, kit of parts, guidelines. Also, recently we built a solution which actually allows us, we use the technology from our another product to DTakeoff, and we build a solution where users can upload a floor plan, like a PDF floor plan. We do recognition of this floor plan. We define spaces, we define units, we define corridors, and then we use specific kit of parts from one manufacturer, and we just fulfill this floor plan with this kit of parts. It changes a bit floor plan, but still it makes perfect sense for our client. And it's just one example with a completely different input, right? So as you see here is just a massing to build in, and here is like a floor plan to build in. Here the kind of the main question, why do we need to do automation of building concepts? And the answer is pretty simple, actually, right? We all know about housing crisis. We all know that there are a lot of building types which just needed to be built, right? So it's not about unique and bizarre projects, right? It's about just let's say residential buildings or hospitals, so which actually have pretty the same topology, pretty the same kit of parts, depend on the country, and etc., etc. And such a building concepts and such a building objects, right? So sometimes they need to be built much faster, and the best way to improve design phase and pre-construction phase of the building is to define this building concept and to do automation of this building concept. And the next question, which I want to emphasize, is about which building concepts we should automate, right? And again, obviously, all unique and bizarre projects, they should be kept as a project for architects where they can spend more time doing nice job, doing nice calculations, planning, like use their imagination, solve problems for specific difficult sites, right? But for the most usual and for the most, let's say, repeatable, or for the buildings with a simple, obvious kind of purposes, we just assume that architects they will work to create these building concepts. And here is a very important question, because everybody sees the the future of architectural speciality in a different ways, right? Some people think that, okay, architects will probably more and more working with such a smart products like Grasshopper, Dynamo. They will be like a half architects, half programmers, and they will do their job in a better way. But actually, that's not what we believe in. We personally, and we at our company, we believe that actually architects, they should create the concepts. They should actually transfer their knowledges in a proper way. And building concept automation, it can be done by a specific, let's say, by specific people, by professionals in this industry. I mean, I'm not talking about kind of like playing with a Grasshopper to create just a fun facade or very cool facade. I'm talking about the whole building concept automation. Yeah. Okay. So it was a kind of a quick explanation about what we do, what we believe in, and now I just want to show you how one of our building concepts, automated building concepts or automated building solution look like. I'll probably show you our parking example just very quickly, just to explain how it works. And actually, it's relatively easy. So it's just let's just create a project together. Create a project somewhere near with my place. We're gonna generate a parking model, and we're gonna generate a parking model. But before it, we need to draw a side boundaries. Let's say I want to draw these kind of side boundaries, right? And I want to create this side, and then I just will turn on auto generation function. And this function will allow our algorithms to generate quite a few options for this particular site. Okay, so these options, in each of these options, you can immediately see some metrics which will help you to choose the best one, right? So it's a total number of stalls, square feet per stall, building height, site area, etc., stall mix. And basically here are the parameters, and obviously you can edit your site, you can change the direction, you can adjust your boundaries, and here you can just play with different parameters. Let's say you want to have more stalls, and the mix in between, yeah, it's not possible to fit in this site. Hold on a sec. Sorry for that, guys. Need just to relaunch my stuff. Me. Oops. Just give me 10 seconds. Shit happens. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna share my screen again. Let's go here. Let's create project. Just quickly create a side boundaries. Yep, here we go. Create a side. Auto generation. Just let's play a bit with the stall mix. Cool. So we have a different stall mix. As you see, we have a standard stalls and compact stalls. Then we can jump into layout. And here we can adjust this layout. As you see, this layout is created for different floors, right? So here we can move stuff, like we can move entry, we can move ramp. And anytime we remove something, the layout is being recalculated. Then we can easily save it. And then we can go and we can see a 3D model, and let's say like this one. And in this 3D model, obviously, so you have You have a stairs, you have a lift configuration, you have your ramp, you have different stalls. We can do different cross sections, so we can see how our building model looks like from a different sides. So we can say, okay, let's see what we have about beams. We can choose columns, slabs, ramps, walls. Yeah, obviously here some beams and parapet there were created as a walls, but yeah, it's just a matter of what was decided. So stairs, and obviously we have information about all these elements, and we can generate bill of quantities relatively quickly. And you can, if something wrong or you want to change something, you can go back, you can regenerate your site, create any additional options, and just to evaluate quicker your design initial layouts. Okay, so another example, just to quickly show you our CREO Module solution, just to explain how different it can be. Let's say our default solution is actually CREO Module, and we use it as a tool for mass market, but still we do quite a lot of bespoke customizations, like I showed you at parking. In the CREO Module, everything is relatively simple. So we have a preset of different modules, which is connected in a simple units, right? And these units create quite a few layouts. And each layout is just a set of different units connected with the corridors, and so you can change them in the way you want. Yeah, and then when it's done, when your modules presets created, you can go and create a project, just a new project. Here we need to choose which preset we want to use, because for different building types we can use different presets, right? And then so we just need to create site boundaries. Let's say we want to create a project somewhere here, and then our software will generate the different options for this particular site. So we can customize, and we can change parameters from the right side of the screen. We can change target site area. For example, we can go to different site dividing algorithm. We can choose how many buildings we want to see on this particular site. We can manage the offset, the distance between buildings, the street widths. As you see here, I can change it and I can get something like this. So again, if you want to see just like one big building, we just need to increase site area. When we tie it with those parameters, we can simply generate a lot of different options, right? So, and all these options, we have a matrix created specifically to choose the best options. And for example, it's a gross floor area or floor area ratio, vertical sunlight component, direct sun, etc., etc. So we can go through these options, right? We can save quite a few of them. And actually, the way how this block's connected is defined in our preset. So we can choose which layout can be connected to which one, and by which rule. So it's quite customizable. Let's say we choose quite a few options. We can go and we can compare these options. So basically, compare this one, just to see the difference. Then we can apply, and we can just generate a building project, which will be calculated in a few minutes, less than 1 minute. And actually, this particular one, because it's small one, and we can actually do it together. So as you see, all buildings already is being generated, and now the site is generating while it's spinning. We can go into building number 1. We can jump into architectural model. We can see how it looks like. It was a volumetric modular solution. This is why we can see that the building contains different modules, right? So we can see different units here. For example, this is 2-bedroom apartment. This is 1-bedroom apartment. This is corridor. This is core configuration. If we go back, let's go back to the site. On the site, obviously, we can see the whole the whole site, right? Again, we can play with a 3D model, do different cross sections, different view. But at the same time, we can go into our analytics where we can see unit mix summary, total cost, area schedule summary, and we can dive deeper into any of these buildings. For example, we can dive in this building and we will see elemental summary, which is about cost. So basically what we do, we extract a lot of parameters from the building, and then we can connect cost benchmarks to these parameters. And this is how we can calculate things in a quite advanced way. We can calculate concrete or any works, wall finishes, internal doors, because we have a number of doors. And here the customer can say, okay, this is the cost of each door. We can calculate stuff not only by actual metrics, but we can also apply some metrics like MEP stuff. For example, this model doesn't have any MEP stuff, and we can just apply it to gross internal area. And we can say each square meter costs us this amount of money. That's it. This is how we calculate also modular cost and on cost, PCSA fees, preliminaries, etc. It's like a percentage on top of other rows. Also for this project, we have a metrics, right? And we can create kind of reports for our clients. Let's say here, I want to create a report. And in this report, I basically have a web page where I can put information from the project. And for example, here, it's like a demo report, right? So I can create 2 columns. In the left one, I'll put actually my architectural model. So I can edit it. I can choose the view I want to see. In the right one, I want to put a floor plan or any piece of my floor plan. I can add this stuff, and I will see schematic floor plan for this particular block. Then I can put some charts like a table, unit mix summary, or area schedule summary, or total cost. Here, for example, again, we can put a 3D map. And also here, for example, we can create a specific code. Let's say if we go to Google Maps, let's say somewhere here, let's go probably to London. And yeah, let's put this guy somewhere here. Right, it's not the right place to build a building, but anyway. So I'm gonna just copy this HTML. I can embed this HTML here, and actually our client will be able to see surroundings where it's being built, and quite a lot of other information. So you can save this report, you can send this URL to the client, and yeah, this is how it works. So returning back, just want to summarize. So as you see, it's all about building concepts automation, and we have our let's say default solution which we sell for mass market, and we try to make it perfect right now for architects. And we have quite a few bespoke customizations which we do for different clients, for manufacturers and contractors. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I left quite a lot of time for questions if you have so. And I'm stop sharing my screen. So I don't see any questions in the chat. Am I doing everything right?
Sorry for the delay.
No worries.
You have one question. First of all, it starts with a comment or a compliment. So Alex Lefebvre, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. This is an incredible tool. How do you see this product evolving into the future?
It's a very good question. And actually, obviously in the future, we want to somehow, first of all, we want to build a nice tool for architects, and then we want to connect supply chain to the initial project stages. This is where we see manufacturers and contractors integrated from the very beginning. Let's say we will do automation of different building concepts, and architects will be able to create a different machines, different floor plans, and then they will be able to apply this building concept. This is how we will build kind of, you can think about it as a BIM object, but BIM object created specifically for separate elements. And we just want to go in a much higher level, not like separate elements, but the whole building concepts. Let's say manufacturer of all building systems, building walls, building elements can upload a concept, and then architect can use this concept when he works on the conceptual stage on the project. Yeah, that's kind of marketplace. Short answer. Yeah. Ian, I cannot hear you. You are muted.
How does this apply to engineering firms as they specify different products and when they're using tools like this with building product manufacturers and making specifications?
Yes, right. I wouldn't recommend this tool to actually to build your products, but actually this tool is quite suitable for them to test their products and to try to let's say inject their products into early project stages, because right now it's happening in a way in which kind of prefab architects, prefab manufacturers, they come too late in a project and it's already difficult to do something and it's really hard to change something. I see a question from Peter. Why architects? With this product, they will not be driving the design. Actually, yeah, Peter, it's a good question, and we found answer on our own experience, because actually, even if you have the best prefab concept, the best products, and you know how to use these products to build a building, there is no way to do that without architects. It's a secret information. So actually, architects will drive mass adoption of prefab systems and overall building systems. So the only architects can do that because they're responsible for design and permission stage, and manufacturers know nothing about that. And this is why they need to have friends architects. And architects need to have a tool where they can still have their flexibility and they can use their imagination and create these different forms, shapes, and then if they want to involve to implement to invite client and to show quite a few concepts from manufacturers, they will do that, and it will be a huge choice. It will be a good discussions from the very beginning, and this is what we would like to achieve. Yeah.
So in light of Shadow Summit, we're keeping this very conversational and participatory. I'd love to invite Peter to join, share your audio and video, and give your thoughts on that. Peter's a leader, and definitely would love to hear feedback as he decides if he'd like to join. We do have another question from Harj Sidhu. Do you see implementation of mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems into this tool as well?
Yes, absolutely. It for us, there is no difference. I mean, it's about how market is ready, and usually it's quite hard to implement all the details from the beginning, but technically it is possible. The problem is it's not necessary usually. Usually you need to have something kind of not fully detailed to play around, and then when you're fine with the concept, you can go further. So it will be implemented for sure, and I think it will be implemented in a few steps. Like the process should be iterative. Hi, Peter. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. It's really impressive. Architects will get in the way of this. They will not let you cut into it. If you're going to create a disruptive technology, disrupt it and have a completely different distribution change, or you're going to get killed. Architects will hate you because architects currently take a percentage of building costs. They don't add that much value into the deal. And they're going to try to find a way to use your tool to hang on to their market share and their excessive cost.
and we will let them to do that.
So,
I mean,
I was working on typing up my recommendation. I'm of the opinion that what you need to do is work really hard with the manufacturers and the product people, because your building blocks, your Lego components that you're putting together,
mhm.
the logical people first, manufacturers, the module people, all of these people that build that product, to give you their most efficient design for those building blocks. And then
Yeah.
developers like me can say, ooh, how do you pronounce your first name?
Max, you can use Max, just Max.
Okay, Matt. Okay, I wanted to make sure names are important.
Yeah.
And then developers like me can say, Max, I want a building on this side of 42 units, and you put all the pieces together, and then all I need to do is go, here, architect, put some pretty stuff on it so I can get it approved at City Hall.
Okay. It's just because it works a little bit different in the United States. For example, it's quite hard to work with developers in the United Kingdom because there is a huge trust in between developers and architects, and they will not break it for sure. So we got it. And also for manufacturers, we've been in touch with a lot of manufacturers, and I can tell you they can use software for two different directions. First one is just a business development where they can go with this software to the client to showcase what can be built and how much would it cost, right? This is the first direction, and it's less valuable direction, to be honest with you. And another direction is to work with requests for proposals using such a tool. But actually, the biggest value for manufacturers, as we defined, is that when architects use their products and their concepts, and actually, it's quite funny, but actually, the value for manufacturers is in architects, is a number of architects who uses their products in their designs at early stages. It sounds crazy, but it is what we.
So I agree entirely that that's how the market works today.
Yeah.
But if we're going to disrupt the marketplace, it's got to change. There's too many people that have too many fingers and pull too many cost points out of that whole building construction supply chain. I mean, and if we're really so I'm passionate about affordable housing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get our price points down on housing? Those land trusts, the architects, none of those people care about affordable housing. They care about holding on to their market share and their percentages out of deals. So, I'm a huge, and I'm really not a builder.
Mm-hmm.
I come at it from a little bit different perspective on these things. And so I'm not a fan of doing things the same old way. We need to reinvent how we build and create and produce homes that people live in.
You have a very progressive view, Peter. It's cool. Yeah,
But if you think about what's coming in the U.S., we have all these people coming in from markets where they do modular building, and the U.S. is so far behind on any technology on how to put those pieces together. The building industry is going to get their lunch eaten by people from overseas unless we start thinking about things differently. And so that's what I've really found valuable about this whole shadow stuff and my connection with them is they're finding innovative, creative people, but nobody's thinking big about how do we disrupt the entire industry. We have components that need to be pieced back together.
Yeah,
so
it's just Peter.
I'll stop talking.
No, that's perfect. And this is what we started from, to be honest with you. But then we realized that disruption costs a lot of money. And then we landed a little bit for the current market and decided to find the ways to grow kind of organically, or maybe to find, let's say, to build some opportunity to disrupt in the future. And it's a bit about money and stuff like that. So as you know,
okay. You gotta crawl before you can walk, right? Yeah.
Yes,
and
that's
you gotta
right.
work within the current boundaries to get enough food on your plate to be able to survive.
And exactly, and this is why we built such a solution, which actually let's say, applied your parts on top of floor plans, because from a logical standpoint of view is a bullshit, right? So it's a nonsense, because you will never get efficient manufactured building working in that way, because this floor plan wasn't built in a way to be efficient from a manufacturing standpoint of view, right? But at the same time, this is how it works right now, unfortunately. And we know that architects and clients, they come to contractors, to general contractor, with these conceptual plans, which is already approved. And then general contractor need to dance around different other subcontractors to make sure that these plans will be delivered, and to play around different prefab system. And this is how it works today.
Yes.
Yeah. Not
hugely
the best.
inefficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
I really like what you're doing. It's got a lot of legs.
Thanks for that. Ian, we cannot hear you because
Peter. No, I appreciate you jumping up, Peter. I appreciate you jumping up and having that debate. That's great.
Yeah.
If anybody else would like to ask a question, and we still have about 15 minutes, happy to bring somebody up to ask a question, or you can add that in the Q&A. Definitely to take advantage of Max's time and see, how we can challenge him. Maybe we can push him a little bit more, and then see what sort of thoughts we can come up with here.
Yeah, sorry. I just thought that a good presentation should be about 30 minutes. Didn't want to talk 15 minutes or 55 minutes and then have a 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was a great presentation. You definitely want to try to take advantage of any other questions.
Well, I'll talk more. As you know, Ian, I always have a lot of questions if nobody else wants to take advantage of it.
All right. Well, yeah, go ahead and share your screen. And then, if anybody else wants to ask a question, go ahead and you can join, share your audio and video, and you can join in, and we'll give you the floor. But Peter, do you have another question?
Yeah. So all of your product appears now to be geared toward multifamily, multi-story residential construction.
Do you
have any modules that you're working on for single families? I'm primarily a single family detached builder.
Mm-hmm.
And it is since I come at it as not a builder, and I have all of my builder partners that say we've never done it that way. The ability to set up a suite of components and be able to, and I do developments. I'll do developments of 200-300 single family lots. Having the tool to be able to plan blocks of single family homes with pre-designed construction components would be nice. It'd be a great tool. So are you working in anything on single family?
No, we are not working yet. We had some ideas about single family market, and when we did analysis of the United States, actually, this is the main conclusion we came up with, is that single family market is like enormously huge. It's like I don't know what percentage of it, and we started to do kind of brainstorming about what can be built for this market, and we had quite a few interviews, but I think we don't have enough information yet about this market. It's like, as you know, we are from our main office in the United Kingdom, and we know pretty well UK market, and we just started to work with companies from the United States. And to be honest with you, it's a little bit different, and for us it takes time to understand things before build something. And the main problem we faced is that we don't know how it works, and we particularly for, let's say, for owners who want to build houses, and for builders or big developers who build like the huge districts of single family homes, we started to learn, but need more information about that. And we wanted to build we realized that, for example, especially when owners want to build something, then they usually actually use some floor plans as ideas or imagination for the future. And this is where we actually wanted to create something on top of that, and then connect to lumber yards and to generate frames with the actual wooden products, and create finishes, roofs, etc. Very probably when I did this research, I met quite a few solutions. For example, MEDIC and Plus Spec plugins in a SketchUp. They created for these purposes. And we wanted to do something around that just a little bit more juicier.
So you know, the problem in the home building industry, we got 50,000 home builders, too damn many. But if you look at the consolidation that's going on in a couple different points in the market, I think you could attack it. So MyTech is a company that Warren Buffett bought. Buffett's building a portfolio of, he also has Clayton Homes, his prefabulous, some regional builders. So I think that's one market where you have a large scale builder that can end up doing some modular stuff and connect with factories. The other interesting market would probably be the whole build to rent market, where you're building an entire single family community. And all of the big players in that particular space want a standardized product that they want to just kick out and replicate. So, and right now, my own company, we're working on implementing all of our products into an online software portal. The company's going to be Builder Trend. But the problem is that if there were a prepackaged home that had the entire plans and the manufacturers and the specs and everything that I could plug and play into that platform, I'd be happy, because it provides the best opportunity for me to get the lowest cost home built for my people, for my customers.
Okay. And but you still would need to invite architects to do
There is
some.
no architect that is involved on any of my homes. It's not required in the US for single family.
Really?
No. Drafts people.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah.
So
Okay.
architects are out of that particular equation. So I think there's opportunities, but it is no one in the industry wants anything to change. They always say, this is the way we've always done it. So I always run into these roadblocks about how do you think differently. The closest, have you worked on any, there's a company out of California, Opticos, that has missing middle designs?
No.
Which are kind of a mixed product. And I've got two communities that I'm working on in Omaha that I'm doing multifamily zoning, but it will be a mix of building products and types. But finding anybody to go put those together without employing a hugely expensive architect is really, really hard. So if you're interested in working on an interesting crossover project between your multifamily and single family in the US, let me know.
Okay.
I've got a lot of information on it. I don't have anybody to help me design my product.
Okay. We'll definitely be in touch.
Okay. Is anybody else going to take advantage? I mean, this is hugely beneficial. I love somebody that's being creative and innovative in the industry. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, we tried. Now we started to be a little bit more landed, to be honest with you, because it's not you need to have quite a leverage to change this.
yeah.
It's not. It's like you either should have a lot of money and you will push kind of different firms to implement technology, or you need to have a lot of clients, communications, a lot of partners, etc., etc. So it's a long way. Yeah. So, but we are working on it. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah. I don't see any other questions, Peter. So if I think, yeah, I will definitely be in touch. Thank you for your insights and for your thoughts. I really appreciate it. So if we don't have any other questions, I think that's it for today's session. So thank you everybody who came and who listened. If you have any questions, or you want to see a demo, or you want to discuss something, just DM me in LinkedIn or whenever. So you will find my contacts if necessary in a sessions. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for coming, and have a nice day.